Alright, this is going to be a tutorial on OpenGL Shaders. With OpenGL Shaders, you have two things going on. You have your vertex shaders and you have your fragment shaders. And so with the vertex shaders, it's going to be called for every vertex element. So your positions, your colors, your normals, things like that, those are going to be manipulated in your shaders. Your fragment shaders are going to be called after the final vertex is being condensed into a single pixel, or like your primitives have been finalized and they're about to be rendered. So this is called first, and then over here to your fragment shaders. But if you need more tutorials on that, I'll either do more videos or you can do a Google search for that. What I actually want to get into in this tutorial is how to use that in your program. Tutorials I found online have been kind of sparse and the information is just kind of chaotic. So I just wanted to organize it and present it here. Okay, so with OpenGL Shaders, you're going to have a source file. You're going to load that source file into your program. Okay, that's from a source file from a text, for example, a text editor like Notepad. Put it into your program and finally render it to a screen. However, in your program, in your C++ program, or whatever other type of program you have, you need to compile that source file, compile it, and finally incorporate it into your program, your C++ program, to have it do anything meaningful. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to include this particular header file, and call this extension initialization method that's part of OpenGL's extension API. So let's get into actually how to create a shader. The first thing you're going to do before doing anything else is you need to create a shader, and that can be either a fragment shader or it could be a vertex shader. In your OpenGL code, you need to call GL create shader with its respective argument type, for example this one or that one, whichever one you want to create. After doing that, you need to call GL shader source. With this, you need a couple of arguments to it. You need to have already loaded your text file, such as your source code.txt. You need to load that and have all the source loaded in a single character string, an array of strings. Load that into here. Okay, and what this is going to do is going to tie the shader object you got over here and tie it with that object so that whenever you reference that shader object, it points over here. It's like a pointer, basically. So after you've associated those two, the source object with the shader source file, the actual text, you need to compile that information. And after you've compiled it, well, you've just got a shader, and that's it. And so you repeat the same process for a fragment shader. If you had originally done a vertex shader, you repeat the same process for as many shaders, fragment, vertexes, shaders that you have. Okay, and that's what's going on. And one more important thing is that you have to call this function. You don't have to, but it's very advised that you do, because if you have a typo in your source file, this will tell you what that problem is with the source file, so you can go back and correct it, and so you'll have a successful compilation. Because if your compilation fails, you're not going to see the effect that you wanted from your shader program, because it won't run. And you need to be able to successfully call this method, pass in this argument to it. Now, after you've got your shader, or your shaders, if you created several of them, you need to link them all into one coherent program. How do you do that? Well, just call this method. It's GL create program. And what this does is create a program object. With that, you attach that program object to you attach shaders that you've previously compiled successfully, and you attach it to your program. So it takes all those shaders, not the source file I should say, it's the actual shader compile, the actual object, the integer value that you got. You attach them to this, to your program. After you've attached all the objects that you need, because you can call this several times with different objects, after you've linked up all of them, you need to, well, call this function to link them all together. And finally, you will link them into one useful program. And after that, well, you can start using them. You call GLUse program with the program object ID, and then you can use it. Alternatively, you can call this method by passing a 0 in here, and that tells OpenGL to stop using your particular program. And basically that's it. That gives you a brief overview of how to use OpenGL Shaders. In the next tutorial, I'll show you an actual implementation of what I just talked about in this video. Thank you. Till next time.